coal or something like that, it doesn't take anything like a quarter of a second or a half a second for you to respond to it. Otherwise, your foot would burn off. I mean, you'd have a horrible time if you had to wait a full quarter to a half a second every time some new sensation came in. You respond like that instantly. You're moving right along. You're getting into it right away. So how is it that your brain, that you are doing what you have to do, and yet your brain doesn't even know it yet? Whoa, this began to be a kind of a mystery. What was going on there? What was causing you to not be aware, or to be aware when you're not aware? Or, wait a minute, you're aware, but your brain isn't aware. How can you be aware when you're in brain? What's going on there? What's going on there? That was quite a mystery. And then there were certain experiments that showed, indeed, that if you interfered with the time of neuronal adequacy in the brain, you could actually anesthetize the brain, and the person may not even respond or get that his hand was being squeezed or he was stepping on a hot coal or an ice cube or something like that. You can actually cut that off. In fact, anesthesia is designed to do just that. Well, so this is rather interesting. People respond very quickly when they respond, even though their brains haven't had time to integrate all that information, which is kind of a mystery. And they can not respond if later, after the incipient disturbance, if the brain is anesthetized in some way, they don't respond. So what's going on there? How can you respond instantly, and then if a quarter of a second later something happens to your brain, you don't respond instantly a quarter of a second earlier? We're in Twilight Zone land. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You mean something that happens to me a quarter of a second later keeps me from noticing what's happening to me now? And if what happened to me a quarter of a second later doesn't happen to me, then I respond now. In other words, how I respond depends on what's happening in the future. Wait, the mind goes nuts with that. And yet that's what the data was indicating, that there was some kind of weird time shift going on in the brain. But that's not all. It gets even weirder. What happened in other experiments was the following. Libet asked people, okay, we want to see when your will, when your intent, when you want to do something, when that actually enters into the equation, when your brain responds to that. We want to see that. Here was the test. Very simple. I'm going to flash a light on the screen. If you decide that you like the light, you'd do nothing. If you decide you don't like the light, you press a button. That's it. You press if you don't like, you do nothing if you like. That's it. Nothing more special than that. Pretty simple test, right? Here's what goes on. You would think that the liking or the disliking is something that you put into operation when you press the button. Libet tells people, look, I don't want you to think ahead of time. I don't know what the light's going to be, but I'm ready. I'm going to press no matter what that light's going to be. I'm going to press. He says, no. You have to really make a judgment call based upon what you see at the moment that you see it. You can't make that judgment call based upon, I'm not going to press. The next time, 2 times after that, I am going to press. You can't plan ahead, so to speak. He says, you got to call it when you see it. That's it. Okay. So people said, all right, we'll do that. Presumably they're doing that. So here's what happens. Libet notices that before the light goes on, as much as a half a second before, the brain is already making up its mind. It knows it's going to press or not press the button. And the person is only doing what the brain is telling it to do, or something in the brain is telling it to do, or something is telling it to do, well before it knows it's doing it. It's kind of like what I call riding an elephant. You're on top of an elephant. You're a little guy. You're the ego guru. And you're riding the elephant. and you have a little stick in your hand. And if you want the elephant to turn to the right, you tap the elephant on its right ear. If you want the elephant to turn to the left, you tap the elephant on its left ear. So you can direct the direction. You can tell the elephant which way to go. The only problem with this whole scenario is even though you think you're the one that's deciding, go to the right, go to the left, you're not. The elephant is already going, and then you tap. It's almost like the elephant is communicating with you psychically and telling you, we're going to the right, and you're getting a thought, I'm going to choose to go to the right. Or the elephant saying, we're going to the left, and you think, I'm choosing to go to the left. But it's an afterthought. You're just riding the sacred elephant. You're just riding your own elephant. You're just riding, you're going along for the ride, but you think you have the illusion that you are in control. This is the way it seems to work. It's, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's go in that direction. And I am the king. I'm the one who made the decision to go in that direction. But you ain't. So now we're getting into the mystery a little more. There's something going on, clearly, that isn't you, not at least the you think you are. It ain't your ego, and yet it is very much associated with you. I call it your elephant, if you will, your sacred elephant, and it is really the one that is moving you into the different directions you go. Now the question is, what's your relationship to that elephant? Or, better put, who do you relate to, the elephant or the ego that rides the elephant? Because it turns out that that's something that your consciousness is capable of doing. It turns out that you have a power. This power is really powerful. And that power is to associate yourself with either the elephant or the guru riding the elephant. And it turns out that it appears to be more fun for people to associate with the guy riding the elephant than it is riding with the elephant. It may not be the case, but it turns out that it seems to be that way. It's called, if you will, the Stanislav method of spiritual acting. You know, there are two ways to act. You can pretend, or you can really get into the part.
Do you have any food reserves in your home right now? How long could you provide food for your family if the food supply was cut off? A month? A week? 3 days? Wouldn't you feel better if you had the necessary reserves? Have you ever noticed that the more advanced we get, the less prepared we are? Many things that defined life only 100 years ago are so convenient today that we don't really think about what would happen if that convenience were gone. Consider how we get our food. We just go down to the grocery store and grab a few things. But what if something happened that interrupted the food supply to the store? How long would it take for the shelves to be wiped out? What would you do? How long could you and your family survive? You know, for all the other important things in our lives, we have a variety of professionals, from mechanics to doctors, to help cover our bases. Why don't we also have a food professional? Food is our greatest dependency. Yet most of us find ourselves unprepared for the uncertainties that lie ahead. Why take chances? Why not do something about it? You've already taken the first step. Keep moving forward with this tour, and we can help you put a plan together and even show you how to get your food for free.